Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new, welcome. Today we're making farmer's pie. It's my version of the shepherd's pie that my mom used to make and that I always loved eating. There's something about mashed potatoes on top of anything, that especially when they are browned a little bit and have crispy little peaks, that makes any dish delicious. So we're going to make it today because it's a work day, and this is a recipe that is super fast to make. And continuing on with the theme of let's clear out what's in the freezer and the cupboards, we're using what's on hand. There's some things that I would normally put into this farmer's pie that I don't have on hand. So we're just going to make do with what we've got, because that's what we need to do nowadays. Groceries are way too expensive for us to be wasting them, letting them sit in our cupboards and our fridge. And you know, also every time I go to the grocery store, I'm tempted to buy things that I don't actually need. This recipe is super easy. You can throw in whatever veggies you like, whatever's in your fridge, which is what we're doing today. So I've got one package of that veggie ground that I made the other day. That's about 1.5 cups. I had it in the freezer. I've taken it out. It's mostly thawed out. I thought I had a bag of frozen peas and carrots in my freezer. I don't. So I've got about 1 cup of green peas, frozen green peas. And then I had 2 carrots in the fridge. So I've diced those up. Also in the freezer, I had some lentils. And so I've got about 1 cup of lentils here that were in the freezer. We're going to get those used up. I've got some potatoes that I've diced up, and they're soaking to keep them from going brown. Those are going to go into the Instant Pot right away. This is about 4 large potatoes. Normally, I would have a can of plain kerneled corn or some in the freezer, but I don't. So we're going to use this can of Southwest style. It's got some pimentos, little peppers in there. It'll add extra flavor. Again, we're using up what we've got in our pantry. Then 4 spices and seasonings, 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. Now, I really love this seasoning, this Clubhouse roasted garlic and peppers. So I've got 2 tablespoons of that. I've got 2 teaspoons parsley flakes here. If I wasn't using this, if I was using a plain veggie ground that I had bought at the store, I probably would also add a couple of teaspoons of Italian seasoning. But because there's already a lot of seasonings in here, we're not going to do that. And then I'm going to add a little bit of this W sauce, as one viewer recommended that I call it, because I just cannot say that name. And this is accidentally vegan. And then 2 tablespoons of white flour and 1 cup of veggie broth to make our gravy. And obviously then you need a pan to cook it in. And I'm going to cook my potatoes in my Instant Pot. It's super easy, but you can cook your mashed potatoes any way that you normally would. Now, once my potatoes are cooked, we're going to mash them. Vegan butter. I'm going to use some of this whipping cream that I have. It's coconut-based whipping cream. And I'm going to add a couple of tablespoons of nutritional yeast to give it a cheesy flavor. This is Nooch. It's not regular yeast. If you're not sure about that, look it up. 350. Let's preheat our oven to 350. I've already done that. And now I'm going to get my potatoes into my Instant Pot. So I have this steamer basket that I bought that's specifically for the Instant Pot, but you can use whatever steamer that you would put into a steamer on the oven, you can use in the Instant Pot, including the rack that came with it, but they'll just be really loose. Okay, so I've added a cup of hot water into my Instant Pot. My potatoes. Manual, and I'm going to put it in for 10 minutes. I'm trying to put that stool with my file folder on it in a place that's strategic so that you don't see Sophie going into her litter box, which let's count how many times she does. She's been sitting very comfortably on the couch until I started filming. Yeah. Okay, so let's get this going. Normally, if I was making this, I would add an onion in here and diced onion in here and saute it until it was soft. But I don't have any onions, one. And two, there's onions already in this veggie ground. I'll link the recipe down below. So we're gonna use this, and I'm not gonna add any oil to this. Just trying to be a little healthier. And now because our veggie ground is already cooked, and you cannot see me. And now because our veggie ground is already cooked, I don't need to spend a lot of time browning anything raw. I can start adding everything in. We're adding in our peas, our carrots, okay, I actually forgot that I was supposed to add my flour in before I added the veggies. So in the recipe that will be below, you will add the flour after you've sauteed your onions, if you are not using the veggie ground that already has it, or if you want to add extra onions, and the veggie ground. So we're going to do that right now. I'm going to add the flour, give it a good stir, and then we're going to add the veggie broth to create the gravy. If you are gluten-free, I'm sure you could use a gluten-free flour. And we're cooking it first before we add the broth because we kind of want to cook off the raw flour taste. So it doesn't really matter when you add it. It's just a little easier when you add it in before your veggies. But it's fine. Get a lot of questions about this pan. I bought this in Winners here in Canada, and it is the, what is it? It's called Masterclass, and I love it. It's ceramic. The only problem is the handle is really hot. Okay, so that's toasted a bit. Now I'm going to add my cup of veggie broth. Turn the heat down a bit. Give this a stir. Let's add in our tomato paste. Basically everything else gets added in now. I'm gonna add in my frozen lentils. Add whatever you want. Remember, I'm cleaning out my freezer and my cupboards. Probably will only use half of this, and I'll put the rest in the freezer. Oh, there's beans in there. Oh well, that's fine. I think I'll put this on a lower burner. And we're gonna add our spices. We have our roasted red pepper and garlic seasoning, our parsley, our dried parsley. If you're using fresh, you probably want to put it in at the very end before you put it in the oven. And 2 teaspoons of the W sauce, or to taste, whatever you like. If you don't like it, leave it out. But it's traditional in shepherd's pie, and so when I'm making this farmer's pie, I like to add it in as well. That is so good. So good. Now I'm going to do something that is very controversial. I'm not going to put it in the recipe. I'm just going to do it for my taste. I'm going to add some ketchup. Feel free not to do this. And don't come for me, because everything tastes better with ketchup, and you'll never convince me otherwise. You will never convince me otherwise. So if you haven't already made that veggie ground recipe, I highly suggest you do. It was so easy to make, and it makes a lot, and it's so delicious, and it freezes really well. So there's no reason not to make it, and it's very healthy. So I'm going to let this simmer for a bit until it thickens. And in the meantime, those potatoes should cook up, and then we'll be ready to mash them and assemble everything. I'm going to make everything in this pot. This can go in the oven, so I'm just going to put the mashed potatoes over top of here. Put the lid on this. It's on low, and we're going to let that simmer so the veggies cook a little bit before they go in the oven, and so that the potatoes can cook. And I will see you back here when the potatoes are ready for mashing. Okay, so we have our veggie ground done. Just smoothed it out. I decided I was only going to use half of that stick of vegan butter. And so I've pre-melted that, and I'm going to pour that over top of the potatoes. Everything's still nice and hot. These are nice and soft. Now I'm going to add in the nutritional yeast. I've got about a tablespoon and a half here, and that will add the cheesy flavor that is really nice on here. And then you're going to add whatever milk or cream you're going to use to whatever texture you like. If I didn't have this, I happen to have this for another recipe. If I didn't have it, I would just use regular plain oat milk or soy milk. I'll add some pepper. I'm not adding salt. I am trying to cut down on my salt. But obviously you're going to salt and pepper to your taste. Now let's taste this. So now I have my mashed potatoes very nice and creamy. And I'm going to scoop them over top of the ground. Now you can make the mashed potatoes ahead of time. You could make the filling ahead of time. You could make the whole shepherd's pie ahead of time. Now I tend to call this shepherd's pie, even though what I mean is farmer's pie. And by that I mean, obviously a shepherd's pie has traditionally got lamb in it. And then there's cottage pie, which apparently has either pork or beef in it. So I like to call this farmer's pie because I'm supporting the farmers, because it's all veggie. So call it whatever you want. All right, so let's spread this out over top. And then I'm going to do what my mom always did, because let's face it, the best part are the crispy little bits on top that get brown in the oven. She always scraped a fork across it in a crosshatch pattern to make extra sort of crests, ridges. You know what I mean. And hold on. She also used to sprinkle a little paprika over top. I'm almost out of sweet paprika, but I'm going to, I think there's enough in here to make this worthwhile. She always sprinkled a little over top. This is optional, but if you've been watching me for a while, you know how much I like paprika. I don't think it will overflow. It's not really liquidy. But just in case, I'll set it on a cookie sheet. I've already got my oven preheated to 350, 375, depending on the temperature of your oven. I used to use 375, but this oven is much hotter. So we're going to put that in there, and I'm going to bake it for at least 45 minutes. I want it to be bubbly, and I want the top to be browned a bit and a little crispy. So I'll see you back here when that's done. Let me show you how it turned out. Now I've got some of my Primal Kitchen, my favorite buffalo hot sauce. It's not really that hot. So I'm going to put some of this on here. That is so good. You can see how, I don't know if you can hear that, it's got nice and crispy on top. It's awesome. So this is one of those recipes that you can put in whatever you've got in your cupboard, whatever you've got in your freezer and your fridge that needs using up. I used what I had, and it's delicious. It makes a lot, and you can scale it up for a bigger family. I could have spread those mashed potatoes over a much bigger casserole size, so could have easily made more. But this is just perfect for me for this week, and I love leftovers, so this is going to be awesome. So I'm going to go eat this and enjoy it and relax, because again, it's another busy week. So guys, I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're staying safe. Remember, in a world where you can be anything, eat good food, be kind, including to yourself. I love you, and I'll see you next time.